Hello, welcome to Hat Trick. I am Jordan Deller-Coltman. I am joined by Braydon Deller-Coltman. We have a special guest joining us this week, Larisse Campbell. The original mother, Tucker, is with us, and Elliot is off. Elliot's away. He's working on other things, and he will be back with us shortly. If we sound like we've fallen down a well, it's only because Larisse and I are currently commuting home from Christine Sinclair Place, formerly known as BC Place, and I guess tomorrow it'll be back to being BC Place. But we were able to be in the building to witness the final match of Canada's greatest soccer player, the world's greatest female soccer player, the world's greatest scoring soccer player, and it was special to be there. We'll talk about that in a second. Before we do, really quickly, Braydon, I have to ask, as someone who watched a little bit of it at home, I know what it felt like in the building, but just the energy on TV. Was it something you were excited to watch, or something that you were looking forward to?
It was novel. I don't know if I got the same excitement watching it on TV as I'm sure the fans in the arena felt. I think that it's a very special moment, but I'm not sure that it was probably as well received on television.
All right, well, let's get to it then. That'll be topic one. Okay, so Larisse, we were there for you. I think, you have a different relationship than Braydon and I do to this team. You've met most of them. They stayed at a hotel you worked at, like a decade, over a decade ago. You got to know some of them. We were there for the World Cup when it was here in Vancouver, qualifying for the London Olympics. I remember watching them be absolutely robbed during the London Olympics by the refereeing. And we've been through all of those experiences. I remember getting up, I believe it was 2 a.m. to watch them win a gold medal in Tokyo. For you, as this chapter closes on Christine Sinclair's career, what was it like being there for yourself? And what is this story, or the ending to the story for you?
I think it's just the beginning to the story. And that's the story of women's soccer, professional women's soccer coming to Canada, and Canadian soccer being on the map. And so I think it's just the beginning of her story, or the beginning of the story that she has wrote the first chapter, or first few chapters up. But personally for me, it was a really special night. I thought you were going to have a camera on me for a cry watch, because I cried a few times. Just seeing her not be able to get through the Canadian national anthem without being completely overwhelmed with emotion brought me to tears. But just thrilled for her and for what comes next. But more importantly, just thrilled for Canada and what it means for young people, not just young girls or those who identify as female, but for anyone who loves the game, the beautiful game. And yeah, I was so thrilled to be there tonight, but I'll never forget getting up at 2, 3 in the morning for Tokyo. I remember being in my little tiny studio apartment for London and watching on a laptop because I didn't have cable TV, and just feeling so angry for them, and seeing all of her great moments and the moments she has celebrated. And we've been able to celebrate with her, been really fantastic. So I'm really excited to see what comes next for her.
So Braydon, obviously you mentioned in the intro there what it was like on TV. I'm curious what your memories of Christine Sinclair are. They stretch back as far as myself to watching I think it was the U19 tournament. She played at Commonwealth. It was kind of like the coming out party for this young woman who would be sort of queen. And we didn't yet know quite what the story was going to be, but you knew something special was happening and you were watching a special athlete. Do you remember that? Or what are your other memories of women's soccer in this country led by Miss Sinclair?
Well, I think the biggest impact would be the games. Like that's kind of where she was sort of the face of Summer Olympics, I think, for all of Canada for like you said, as long as she's played internationally. The irony and sort of the idea that it's retirement, although yes, for international play, she still is, quite capable of continuing to play, and I think she intends to play another season professionally. A storied career. I do think that she is and will always go down as one of the greatest Canadian athletes to ever play. So yeah, in terms of memories, just I think every time she steps out on the field, there's memories made with just how impressive she is on the pitch.
I will just really quickly suggest that I know, Braydon, you kind of said you didn't think it was great on TV. I would say I think that the actual like ceremony pre-game, the presentation in the building, I would say was lacking a little bit of the like just the presentation element of it. It was like I don't know. I felt like they could have done more. These kind of events always remind me of like Gretzky's last game, Madison Square Garden. Final send-offs to guys like Derek Jeter or players that just have been with a team for such a long time that those are often the ones that have the most emotion attached to them. When they know it's the final game, like Kobe's final games, and when you've got a player like this
Yeah.
who's kind of on the farewell tour, let's
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
where we already know ahead of time this is going to be it. It's all kind of lined up for this, and of course, it's not just her. We have Sophie Schmidt retiring, who's played almost as long, internationally, and a lot of those matches right there on the wing with Christine Sinclair, and a lot of Christine Sinclair's biggest game moments. She's out there with her. The same for McLeod, who officially retired. She hasn't played for the national team in a few years, but she technically was still an active member of it, and now is retired as well. So we had multiple players retiring alongside the greatest of all time, and it just felt a little bit like I felt they could have done a little bit more in terms of the actual presentation of it, but at the same time there was an understated nature to it that somehow felt fitting considering the understated nature of the person they were honoring. She, much like other elite athletes, seems to be able to kind of keep the private part of herself private, and she's been very successful in that. It's similar, I would argue, to the way that Connor McDavid is not a very outspoken and loud, brash person. He's very calculated with the media. He knows how to, whether he's been trained that way or not. But Gretzky was the same way, and so there's something kind of poetic about it being a slightly understated finale. But she played well. She was all over the place. Every time the ball came anywhere near her, that 48,000 people in the building certainly rose and got the energy was there for them, and of course they were able to get the 1-0 win. I guess you kind of touched on this, break just to wrap this topic up, though. For you, like, where does she sit in the greatest of all time conversation, whether it's nationally? I mean, obviously the accolades in women's soccer are unmatched, so we don't have to go there, but for you, like, you think about the other great Canadian athletes, where does she fit there for you?
Oh, well, I think she's at the top. When you think about dominance in the particular sport, there's so many names I mean, everyone's going to name Gretzky, but then there's going to be a handful of names that you can name right after that played that sport to the greatest of their potential. And yeah, there's some really great soccer players, female soccer player, men's soccer players in Canada. But I mean, Christine Sinclair is the mountain. There's no Rushmore of players that I think stack up when it comes to greatest of all time in that individual sport.
All right, I'll give you the last word on this topic, Larisse. Final thoughts as that chapter closes, and I guess maybe what is the legacy? I mean, it's easy to sort of say, well, she's inspired a whole bunch of athletes, like a bunch of young women, a bunch of young boys for maybe, and as Braydon said, Canadian soccer, it is, I mean, the torch passes a little bit, I suppose, to someone like Alphonso Davies, but not in the same way, not with the same legacy. I mean, 330 Canadian matches.
Yeah,
I think it was 100,
yeah.
190 goals or something
190 goals.
in the Canadian sweater. Like, you can't really touch those things. But from your perspective, what is the lasting legacy of Christine Sinclair's career?
Team first, humble, proud to be Canadian, proud to sort of bang down some walls for people coming behind her, and then that Olympics gold and capping her career off with that. We always talk about the golden goal. Well, there's a lot of young women who will remember the day she finally got her gold medal, and I think that'll be a memory for a lot of us.
That's actually so
Great.
true.
All right.
I want to jump on that actually, because I think unlike the Golden Goal and Sidney Crosby, I don't think people are going to think about Sidney Crosby as one of the greatest international players of all time. Like he made an important thing happen there at the Olympics, but Christine Sinclair is the epitome of international sport, I think, especially in Canada.
Agreed.
Well
like
said.
Larisse said, that ability to feel pride and feel a sense of community around your country, I think, is what she was able to do so well.
100%.
Well, it was an honor to be in the building to witness the final minutes of her career. And of course, as you said, Braydon, she's not done. I'm sure that the next chapters, whether that continues to be her professional career, and when that eventually comes to a close, whatever she's doing next will always be something exciting, because this is a woman who has done nothing but excellence through her entire career to this point, whether it's she goes into broadcasting or she continues to push for the professional women's league in Canada, or whatever the next steps are. I'm sure that we will all be proud of whatever her legacy is, whatever her next steps are. Let's leave it there. That's topic one.
Hey, podcast listeners. My name is Larisse Campbell, and along with my co-host, former Olympic bobsledder, Alicia Olson, I am so excited to introduce you to the Mother Pucker podcast. And if you love the Oilers like we do, you are going to love our show. It's just two gals who aren't afraid to drop the gloves and throw some hot takes about the boys in blue and orange. Whether you're a massive hockey fan like us, or just looking for some new voices talking about the Oilers' blue line, or lack thereof, we promise the show is for you. So subscribe now and tell your friends. It's time for the Mother Pucker podcast.
All right, let's talk baseball. Again, I'm a little bit confused why we're talking baseball in December, except that it seems to be a story. Now, the last time we spoke, there were rumors that the Toronto Blue Jays might be one of the few teams actually sort of in the hunt for Shohei Ohtani, who of course is the unicorn right now in Major League Baseball, the pitching, hitting phenom out of Japan, who's played the first part of his professional career in Anaheim. But of course, he is the biggest free agent probably in the history of baseball, and it sounds like the Blue Jays met with him over the week. It sounds like he's now met also with the Dodgers. We know there are definitely going to be a couple contenders in on this. And the biggest question mark, it seems, and correct me if I'm wrong on this one, Braydon, but it seems like the biggest challenge is this is an incredibly private athlete who very little about his sort of wants and desires outside of obviously, wanting to be paid fairly for the talent that he possesses. It seems to not be very clear on what his ambitions are. Does he need to be on a contender immediately? Does he want to be in a place that's a comfortable place to live? All of those question marks seem to still be swirling. And obviously we've also heard that his camp wants to keep this whole negotiating thing quite under wraps and not want it to turn into a media circus. Inevitably it has, because again, we're talking about such a great athlete. But the second part of this conversation is that the Blue Jays now also appear to be in as one of the potential trade partners for the San Diego Padres and Juan Soto. And so we were talking about the biggest trade target and the biggest free agent on the market, and the Blue Jays appear, at least, to be in on both of them and to be contending for both of them. So, as a Blue Jays fan, Braydon, I will give you the floor first. Where are you on the level of expectation, and moreover, realistically, because this is what we talked about last week, how do you see this shaking out?
How do I see it shaking out? How do I want it to shake out?
Yeah. Fine, maybe both.
Well, yeah.
I think we know how you want it to shake out.
The Blue Jays to get everybody that they ever chase.
Yeah, exactly.
The Blue Jays are notorious, though. Notorious for chasing the biggest names in the last couple of years. And it's there's no secret as to why. They're on the tipping point. They have a wealth of young, capable players that are just about to reach their full potential. So bolstering that with some of the better and already superstar powers in the league, I think is what every team wants to do. And I think that the Blue Jays have, all of the assets to make something like this happen. We talked last week about Ohtani and the pipe dream that it is. I think still moving forward, it is one of the most enticing opportunities for a player like this. Regardless of where he signs, this is one of the best things to ever happen to Major League Baseball. Marketing, media attention, this is going to be a huge shakeup. And if that happens, where Ohtani, wherever he goes, that isn't the Angels, It's going to be huge, and it's going to end up having a lot of dominoes fall. Like you say, Soto, I think if the Blue Jays don't land Ohtani, I think Soto will be, very, very, very good opportunity for them to make happen. We know that Alek Manoah had a really shitty year last year, but he is a proven top 10 pitcher in the league. The Padres have already indicated that that's something that they're looking for. So there's some really, really great opportunities, I think, that are presenting for the Blue Jays this offseason that they haven't seen before. And hopefully that they're able to, find some success in that. I still do think, regardless if it's Ohtani or Soto or anybody, I think Matt Chapman has to be one of the first and major priorities returning to the lineup next year.
Well, I guess that's the question. Is it like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it would appear that like the cork is kind of in the bottle here, being prepared, and once Ohtani's decision is made, then there is sort of a cascade of next players that will very quickly come off the board here. I mean, the Blue Jays are either going to have to pivot to the Juan Soto thing, or the Juan Soto thing is obviously the part of the Ohtani deal, where it's kind of like you want both ideally, but it feels to me like everything kind of hinges here first on one player, because as you say, they've got other priorities or other pieces that they still have to find, but you can't do that until the biggest chip has kind of been played. Is that fair?
Oh, absolutely. And Ohtani's going to demand $500 million. So it's
how can the Blue Jays afford this? I don't really know all the dollars.
Baseball doesn't have salary caps, so they have the ability to go into basically as much money, which is why we see the Los Angeles Dodgers continue to exercise their opportunities that are that. Like, it's a problem. It's a problem. We saw it in the NHL and the NBA well before the salary cap, where these larger markets were just kind of monopolizing some of these players. And I guess this is the thing. Pipe dream, yeah, I would love to see Ohtani wear the blue.
Well, he may wear blue either way, Braydon.
Blue and white with a little bit of red.
There you go.
I don't know if it's I don't know if it'll happen, but I will say, if it were to happen, I think it would probably go down as one of the greatest moments in Canadian sports history. We talked about Christine Sinclair and the massive legacy that she has left behind in her sport. Ohtani he is doing things that people have never seen before, and you can compare him to Babe Ruth, but that was a completely different game too. So just what Shohei Ohtani is able to do in 2023 with the sport of baseball is absolutely unreal.
All right. Well, I guess we will continue to watch and see. When do you think the answer will come? What is the sense you get from
this week? I mean, I think I'm impressed how much the camp has said, hey, we don't want anyone talking about this, or else it will have major ramifications on whatever deal we make. And it's a clever idea by his team to just ensure that people are serious about this. And I think, though, with that said, I don't think they're going to want to wait. I think Shohei it continues to meet with the teams that he's considering, and he'll make a decision quite quickly. I wouldn't be surprised if we had an answer this week, and we start seeing some of the biggest jersey sales in all of MLB history.
Fingers and toes crossed for Blue Jays fans.
There you go. All right, that's topic 2.
Hey, football fans. The Ordinary Podcasting Network is very excited to welcome back for its second season, Running Down the Clock, presented by Puya Ricey and Tyler Walzak. These two football fans will sit down with you every Thursday of the NFL schedule to talk football. You can subscribe to Running Down the Clock anywhere you get your podcast.
Okay, well, we've been kind of hit and miss for the last couple of weeks. So there's obviously a bunch of stories we haven't really been able to address. So here for topic 3, we're going to do a really quick sort of round the sports world roundup. We did this a couple of weeks back with Elliot, you, Braydon, and now Larisse with us. So you also, Larisse, haven't had a show this week. I know, to be fair, there hasn't been any NHL or Oiler hockey to talk about on the Mother Pucker podcast. So you guys have been off for the week. Yep. So this is good opportunity for us to get in on a few different topics. So the way this works, I'll go through a couple sports stories, tee up a couple things, and you just give us your hottest take on what's been going down, okay? So let's start with this. Obviously, we don't talk a lot on this show, Braydon, about college football, but a lot of controversy following the announcement of the 4 teams that were going to make the playoff for the college football championship in the NCAA. The big controversy being that a one-loss Alabama makes it in to face Michigan over a unbeaten Florida State. And a big question mark around that is this the Alabama prestige, argument? Why are they getting special treatment over again a team that was undefeated against perhaps arguably maybe some different levels of opponent? But it shows you sort of the flaws in how the entire selection committee structure is built. I know we don't talk about it a lot, but I wonder for you, Braydon, is this a big deal or are people just blowing this out of perspective here, and should we really be caring as much as people seem to be?
Yeah, people are caring way too much about this. However, it is a religion in the States, that college football. I don't know. They had to. It's like what I said about last week with Shohei. Somebody's got to sign him, and in this case, somebody has to play Michigan, and so I don't know. Giddy. I'm excited for them. I don't think they. I don't know.
I mean, the state of Florida under, what's his name, Ron DeSantis, is considering suing the NCAA.
What? What the hell?
Again, is this just, like a football run amok?
No,
Yeah.
I'm going to be contrarian here. It's not football run amok. I don't think Florida deserves nice things. I don't think anybody that votes in Ron DeSantis deserves nice things. But I will say that those young players who they're like, this is their chance to be seen. This is their chance to make a mark. Like, I feel freaking bad for them. And do I think suing the NCAA is the right answer? No, but that's Florida for you. However, I do think that team, that coaching staff, all the people who put in those hours have every right to be friggin' upset right now.
All right. Let's leave that one alone. We'll go to another one that was a pretty controversial, hot topic one for us. Now, we don't need to deal specifically with the allegations or they're not allegations. I apologize for saying it that way. The rumors that followed the Corey Perry termination in Chicago, contract terminated after, again, a situation that has not been reported on the specifics of, but appears to be some type of misconduct, some type of a situation involving members of the team staff while on a road trip. But the innuendo and the just absolutely disgusting rumors that followed this on first sort of hockey Twitter and then just snowballed into just an absolute firestorm surrounding, again, a team that we have talked a lot on this show about in terms of mismanaging and making incredibly poor decisions when it came to dealing with serious allegations in the past, makes the decision to terminate this contract, but they again still leave so much of it murky. I guess the question is this, Larisse, what does this point to in terms of sort of where we're at with both the online hockey culture and sort of the toxicity that surrounds that, but equally in terms of the transparency that's necessary to protect the innocent people that got swept up in this whole story?
Oh gosh, another team, the Chicago Blackhawks, who don't deserve nice things. My goodness. I think I will say that
a nice thing.
No, but Connor Bedard.
Connor Bedard is, and unfortunately, Connor Bedard's family got caught in the crosshairs of something really nasty. Obviously, we all know online hockey, online fandom for anything is toxic. We know that. And yes, in the beginning, you could have a laugh when the rumors were sort of starting out because it seemed so extreme or so silly. And then we come to know that Corey Perry has been let go and contracts have been terminated for some behavior under the influence. I hope that Corey Perry seeks the help that he requires in order to fight the demons he is working through. However, I think that the Blackhawks did a shit poor job after everything that they have done or has happened in the past. their mandate was to be radically transparent, and they let things spiral and go out of control. And then still, when they did come to the table to share, it was not transparent, and those rumors sort of circulated. So I think that there is a handful of the Blackhawks at fault here, or the organization of the Chicago Blackhawks, and then yes, online Twitter taking something way too far and it's becoming harmful. But I will say, I think it also speaks to the super puritanical nature of the NHL. There is there is still such a old school mentality to hockey culture. Boys don't cry. We beat each other up when we're really angry. And I love hockey. Everyone knows that. But I think there is this really strange, we keep things very quiet and hush hush under the table in the NHL. And clearly, unfortunately, a family of an amazing young talent got pulled into the mud in a big giant joke. And just pie on the face of the Blackhawks, pie on the face of a lot of people, and embarrassing again.
All right. I got two more for us here really quick. Braydon, we talked a couple shows ago, or maybe it was last show, frankly, about the in-season tournament. Now, it hasn't come to a conclusion yet, but when we spoke last time, I kind of pushed back and asked sort of, who is this for? We're now a little further into it. I believe we're about to go into the semifinal round here in Vegas in the next coming week. As a basketball fan who watches probably every Raptors game that's out there, when you look at how this tournament has played out for the league itself, do you think that it will come out as a victory for the league, as a positive thing for the league? Sort of where do you come down on how it played out as a fan now that we've gotten kind of almost 3/4 of the way through the tournament itself?
I think the league will be more positive about its impact than I think the fans will in this first year of it. I do think that we'll see it again, but I think that we've now seen how confusing it all was, and I think it remains to be as confusing when you hear interviews with Giannis, somebody who's actually still playing in the tournament, be surprised that you win money at the end of the tournament. It just kind of shows that everyone still doesn't really know what's going on. But at the same time, the NBA is reaping the rewards of this new, fun, exciting in-season tournament.
All right, and then the last one I'll give you, speaking of Vegas, we found out this week, I guess today or yesterday, that the NHL has made two decisions at the Board of Governors meeting. One, that the salary cap, which is currently set, I believe, at around $82 million, will jump to $87 million next season. So the largest and most dramatic increase in the salary cap we've seen since COVID, which kind of stunted the traditional sort of gradual stepping up of the salary cap, which obviously will be a very big benefit to teams like the Edmonton Oilers who are at the cap and struggling to stay under it. But it also means there are a bunch of other teams now who have money to sort of spend on free agents. The second piece of news, which kind of also has two parts to it, but the big piece is that the NHL has announced that they have made a deal with Madison Square Garden Entertainment that they will host the upcoming NHL 2024 draft at the Sphere in Las Vegas. They will be the first sports team to utilize the Sphere outside of Formula One. And the other part of that news is that following, I believe, 2029's draft, they will now decentralize, meaning teams will not all gather in the same place. They will go to the NFL model of teams basically making picks from war rooms in their own cities, and that the players will come together, have their photo op with the commissioner on stage at whatever neutral venue. But the teams themselves won't travel. It'll save the NHL and their teams a bunch of money, all of those things. Braydon, you look at all of this sort of shifting in the NHL, where do you kind of come down as a fan? Is the draft still a marquee event? Is it something that they should be putting the kind of resources I'm sure that they are putting it at the Sphere? Does it matter? How do you as a fan kind of react to both parts of that news?
If holding the draft virtually or holding it at a Sphere means that the NHL can afford to increase the salary cap, I'm absolutely all for it.
I don't know if there's a direct correlation.
The fact, however, The fact that, well, I mean, saving money at any corner, I think
Sure,
for
fair
a
enough,
league
fair
like that is really beneficial. But the fact that the cap will go 5 million, as exciting as that is, maybe for Oilers fans at this moment in time, that we're going to be right up strapped to the cap once we have extensions locked in for certain players here coming up. So I don't think it's actually going to be all that relevant for our hockey team.
Larisse, I'll give you the final word. Is the Sphere worth it?
Oh gosh. Well, we know Bettman really likes Vegas, friends.
Well, I think
So-
all sports do.
Yes, yeah, we know. But Bettman has a love on for Las Vegas, and so it doesn't shock me it's ending up there. I don't know. I'll be interested to see the decentralized model. I think there's like an excitement of having everyone together, but as Braydon said, I tend to agree. Any money you can save, if it can help in some capacity for bonuses or whatever we need. But yeah, 5 million is a small bump in comparison to other teams. Now that I know there are teams without caps, baseball, yeah, sports. Yeah, it's not going to be a make or break situation for the Oilers. We're tight no matter what.
All right. That's our little show for this week. Thank you, Braydon. Thank you, Larisse.
Thanks for having me, Jen.
As always, please subscribe if you haven't already. And you can check out Larisse's show, the Mother Pucker Podcast, anywhere you get your podcasts, or you can find out more about it on our website, ordinarypodcast.com. That was Hattrick.
Hattrick is a member of the Ordinary Podcasting Network. It's produced every week by Jordan Dyler-Coltman and Braydon Dyler-Coltman. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Thanks for listening.
The Ordinary Podcasting Network wishes to acknowledge that the lands on which our conversations take place include Treaty 6 territory, the traditional meeting ground and home for many Indigenous peoples, including the Cree, Dene, Saulteaux, Blackfoot, Métis, and the Nakota Sioux peoples, as well as the unceded territories of the Coast Salish peoples, including the territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations.
We acknowledge the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit whose footsteps have marked these lands for generations. And we extend our appreciation for the opportunity to live, create, and share stories on these territories.
The Ordinary Podcasting Network intends to engage in conversations and dialogue which acknowledge that reconciliation is not a destination, but a journey, and that we remain committed to practicing our craft in a decolonized space.